Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Welcome to the stream. Jorby stream. We're full of life. We're full of energy today. Let's go. Roster lock has happened. This is a no-nonsense stream today. How are we doing, everybody? We're going to get right into this in a second. I just want to let you guys know. I'm probably not going to be looking at chat a lot, but I will see your stuff come in over time. My focus is going to be on the game and doing some live player analysis today. We're going to be looking at dreaz first and foremost. Dreaz just announced yesterday that he would be playing for Team Envy in a big swap that happened between G2 and Envy. And I wanted to take a look at dreaz. Since, you know, all eyes are pretty much on dreaz right now. They have been all season. And a lot of people out there feel like he had a solid season so far, or a solid fall split, me being one of those people. And I wanted to answer a couple of questions about dreaz. Now, there's only so much that we're going to be able to glean from these replays. I wanted to look at 2 from G2 versus Envy, and I wanted to look at 2 from Faze versus G2 these are both in the Fall Classic, to get an idea for how dreaz reacts to different opponents, because this is a difficult thing to just be like, oh, well, dreaz is these things. It really depends on a lot of factors that we won't be able to glean from these replays. Like, we don't know how dreaz is going to interact with Turbo Pulsa and Mist when he plays for Envy. We do know that G2 has a specific type of way they want to play, so dreaz is trying to fit into that role. But the questions I'm trying to answer today is how does dreaz act in the first, second, and third man positions? What are his tendencies? And how does he approach the pitch? How does he act when he's winning? How does he approach when he's losing? Are there differences when he's winning or losing, or in different situations? So, also an FYI, I haven't done a lot of live analysis before. For those of you returning to the stream, or for those of you that have been here before, you know I've done it a couple of times, but it's definitely a new thing for me. It's not exactly comfortable. So there are going to be some growing pains, and I just ask that you guys bear with me through that growth. But hopefully over time, this is something I want to do consistently, and I'm going to do consistently. So hopefully over time we get better and better. And I really like looking at individual players. So my focus is not going to be on what JNAPS or Chicago or Atomic Turbo or Mist are doing. My focus is going to be on dreaz, the decisions he's making, and how that and what that can tell us about what we may expect for him on Team Envy. So let's get right into it. Again, I'm probably not going to look at chat too much, but feel free to, you know, talk amongst yourselves, do what chat does. Oops, I switched off of dreaz. Yeah, only looking at dreaz. Let me know if the music is too much, guys, but I did put it pretty low. Oh my gosh, please. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get started. Let me know if the game sound is a little loud as well. So we're going to be starting, stopping a lot. So dreaz on the kickoff. Going to grab some midfield boost already. Third man spot for dreaz. The spots are going to flow. So when I say that he's third man right now, just know that I understand that the roles are changing fluidly, and I'm going to be mentioning that over time. And just talking about dreaz's, not every single decision that he makes, but a lot of them in these positions. So he comes in, and this is it's still an aggressive posture here right off the kickoff. But he can respond in 2 ways there. He's already boosting back. He's ready to go back to net if he needs to. But he's also taking an aggressive posture so that if that touch does go somewhere better for G2's offense, then he could be ready to follow up whatever touch Chicago has. But his role is to follow up Chicago as third man to protect that back end and make sure that ball doesn't sail past him. So he's going to do that here. He sees Chicago's got lead on the ball and waits for the 50, pre-flips in front. That's already a good start for dreaz. Chicago gets a demo. That opens up the boost steal. And now Chicago back. Here comes dreaz in second man. And I'm really interested to see how dreaz handles second man rotations in general. It's the most difficult position to play consistently at in Rocket League. So he's setting himself up from the pass here for Chicago. Chicago doesn't have a pass. He can only put it to the wall. Mist kills that ball, and dreaz already turned out as soon as he saw Mist there. So you see dreaz just making himself available, giving Chicago as many options as possible. But Chicago can't get around the ball, can't force it by missed. So instead of going up and challenging it, dreaz immediately turns off the ball, and now he's second man to Jnaps. Jnaps has a better angle. I think this is going to be a trend you start to see with dreaz, is he's much more willing to give Chicago and Jnaps an angle on the ball if they have a better one. Oh, that one's a little awkward. And he ends up losing the 50 here. So this situation right now for dreaz, let's look at this play right here. So this touch, he's not exactly sure where that 50 is going to go, and you can see he's already boosting through this. He's already given up on this play. Jnaps wins that initial touch against missed, but dreaz doesn't really know that. So he's already going back to collect his own boost, prepare for an envy push. Also, Timmel Pimmel, thank you for the Prime subscription. Really appreciate that. But yeah, like coming here, like in hindsight, you're like, why didn't dreaz turn on that? He could have beat Atomic to that ball. He started boosting away. But that 50 is, or that challenge is really unclear from dreaz's perspective. So he just boosts back, and that's not a problem. Envy end up double committing on the play. Chicago gets a 50 for him. And that's a little awkward. And I think what happens here is you see at the very edge of his vision, Jnaps is committing to that. Trying to beat Turbo to the play, and he can't. And so that puts dreaz in a bit of an awkward spot. You see him try to take... He took an initial angle. He has to avoid missed as well. So that just put dreaz in a really awkward spot. That's really not much dreaz could do in that situation. You got to avoid that demo. You can't let missed chip you off the play. And you also have to give a little leeway to Jnaps in front. So I don't even know if... I say he's trying to avoid the demo. Let's look at this again. Coming in. I think he's just trying to stay behind it. Tough to see. I think he's just giving leeway to Jnaps more than he is trying to avoid missed. So, pulls back on the play. In net. It's a light double, but that's not bad. Let's put him right in position and low boosts. And that's a tough one as well for dreaz. So, the light double commit here. Just covering just in case Jnaps can't get to that ball, or if missed gets a little more power onto it. And he flips right into this, but Turbo is there, so he's just going to drive downfield. And now you're open. So sometimes double commits are a good thing. So dreaz is going to drive up the field here. I actually think dreaz has a chance at a better shot here. So we see that he lets that ball come down very far before he takes a shot, and he doesn't have a lot of boost. So it's going to be difficult to get up under this ball if he wants to cut in, but I actually think he can cut in and get a better angle. So he sees Atomic boosting back here, right? dreaz knows he has no boost. Atomic doesn't know dreaz has no boost, so Atomic has gone back to net. But had Atomic decided to swing around and make a challenge, dreaz would be completely out of position right now. Like, Atomic could swing around. dreaz has no boost to be able to challenge. I actually think even with 9 boost, dreaz can get up here. If he turns in here, let that ball come into him a little bit rather than driving forward as he is. He's waiting till that ball gets down to his height. But you can get just a little bit of height under this ball and even get a better redirect here. Midfield is wide open. And you cover 2 options, right? If Atomic isn't challenging you, it's a free shot, which this is. But if Atomic is challenging you and you cut in, let me draw it on screen. Oh. As you can see, a little test circle. So get my handy dandy drawer. Let me know if the music's a little loud for you guys. It might be a little loud for me. I might turn it off. But let's back this up just a little bit, actually. Oh, and it switched off of dreaz. Atomic coming around. Double commit up here. So we want to get it right. That touch right here. So dreaz keeps driving. We know, based off of hindsight and just seeing it. Pen. dreaz keeps driving this way. Now the ball is taking a more center straight line trajectory, like right around here. So dreaz could kind of turn in here a little bit while still kind of driving forward somewhere around this area. And he's going to get a better angle under this ball with 9 boost. Even if he doesn't get the most solid challenge, he doesn't know if Atomic is going to 50 him or not in full speed. So I think he gets a better shot on net if he just cuts under this ball early in midfield and takes a shot on net. Instead, Atomic is back. Whoops. Does force an awkward touch out of Atomic. dreaz gets the boost steal. JNAPS comes in. dreaz doesn't get the ball, but he demos missed. So that's not bad from dreaz. But you do wish that shot was a little better. You think they left something on the table. What is this? Just Pan rating with a party of 32. Yo! Thank you so much. Corelli rated with a party of 163. Oh my God. What is happening? What's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome to the stream. This is a no-nonsense player analysis stream. We're taking a look at dreaz, as you can obviously tell. We're going to be looking at this is in the grand finals of the Fall Classic versus Envy. We're going to look at 2 games from Team Envy. Or we're going to look at 2 games from this match. And then we're going to look at their semifinal Fall Classic match against Faze. We're going to look at two matches there. And my goal here is to figure out, A, how does dreaz play against 2 completely different squads that have different play styles? And how does he react either winning or losing? What are the decisions that he makes? What are his tendencies in all 3 positions on the field? And how might that inform us on how he'll play on Team Envy? Now, there's only so much that we're going to be able to glean from this. We're not going to be able to be like, oh, you're not going to be able to make a solid, okay, we know dreaz is going to be absolutely insane on Envy. It depends on the players around him, right? G2 want to play a certain way. That's going to inform dreaz on the types of decisions that he makes here. So, guys, thank you for all the follows that are coming in. I can't shout them all out, but they'll all be on the on the screen for you to see. I appreciate it. I'll shout out the subs as well, but appreciate everyone coming in. Anyways, we're gonna keep going. So far, we've seen dreaz play fine. So far, you know, we've only seen one real opportunity that he had that he probably could have been a little better on, but you know, we're always splitting hairs, aren't we, when it comes to replay analysis? So dreaz initially wanted to come up for that, and this is fine. This is the beauty of second man. Is you have a lot of leeway in how you choose to move in. So we see Chicago rotates out on this play. dreaz is also pulling out, or not Chicago, excuse me. JNAP's rotating out of the play, and he thinks that that's going to be a 50 for him. It ends up not being. Mist wins it cleanly, but no problem. Grabs his own boost. This sounds like juicy content. It is juicy content. So you see dreaz really wanting to be aggressive here on this play. JNAPS tries to force that 50, and this is pretty aggressive. Chicago's still rotating out. Chicago coming down. He's actually going to get that boost steal in the corner, so dreaz knows that Chicago's going to be able to get back to that ball. So if he can pull the ball away, but he ends up forcing Turbo to give up possession on this play. So pull back. And I'm gonna be re-rolling so many times, guys. You'll have to get used to that. I end up having to watch a play over and over sometimes before I finally figure out what happened. So, like I said, growing pains. Bear with me. So I like dreaz pulling off here. Nothing comes of challenging that ball from Turbo. In fact, look at that. Turbo gave up possession, and now G2 are all set up. And there are players. There are players in the RLCS that grab this boost and they immediately grab that ball for themselves. But we've seen a couple of times now from dreaz. He's much more willing to give Chicago that ball on the sidewall and follow him up. I think dreaz is feeling much more comfortable when he's following Chicago and JNAPS closely in that second man role. But he won't willingly take that ball himself in many situations. I won't say all situations, but from the ones I've seen so far, he's less willing to take the aggressive first man approach. He'd rather be a follow-up for Chicago or JNAPS. And why wouldn't you? You know the talent on your team. Slowing this down. I like this move from dreaz. And that's really good. Envy don't lose possession here. That's actually a really good touch from Mist. But this is great work in the corner from dreaz. His job was done pretty well here. Turbo gives up that ball. dreaz has a pretty easy touch over Turbo Pulse's hood. And then he's got to read this against Atomic. So he comes down, he knows he has to read that touch, and he gets a perfect touch on his hood. Lets Atomic get that initial touch instead of trying to force a 50. Goes for the control. And he can't really force a 50 because he was so far off the ball. And look at the boost management too. Only using enough to keep himself in position. And when he ends this whole play, and forces Envy out of the corner, he's got 31 boost. Now, G2 aren't ready to challenge this, but that's not on dreaz. Dreaz's job as first man on defense is done here, and it was a good job in the corner. It's a good pass from Mist, though. Ooh, aggressive challenge from dreaz, and yep, you get punished for it. We saw the goal right at the bottom. We knew it was coming. So let's look here. dreaz in this situation, this is tough. You know you got Chicago and JNABs both in front of you. There's not a lot of places you're going to be able to put this ball. I really don't like his challenge angle here. So Atomic, he doesn't get a clean catch initially on the ball, but it ends up working in his favor. Whoops. What is going on? Click. And, oh my gosh, dreaz. There we go. Player view. Just make sure. So maybe dreaz is thinking, Atomic's going to get a clean catch and immediately flick it over my head. It's probably what dreaz is thinking in that moment as he crosses the boost pad. But instead, Atomic, it's not the cleanest catch, so he's got a 50 his own catch, and he wins it cleanly. But I still don't like it from dreaz. There's a better play here. As soon as he sees that catch from Atomic, he wants to get it away from him. But even if dreaz wins this 50, like even if he's a little more under the ball, a little more square, what's going to happen? JNABs and Chicago are still rotating back, and you're going to force Chicago or JNABs to have to make a quick save when the ball is kicked out over the wall. The best chance for this 50 is that it goes somewhere on this wall, right? But where's it going to bounce? Right out, and look who's available for it. dreaz is third man in this position when both of your teammates are still recovering and still getting out. You have to find a way to buy a little bit of time, and I don't think that challenge buys you. I think it's a low percentage challenge. There's a low chance that you get that ball into a space where you buy JNABs and Chicago a little bit of time. Again, only looking from dreaz's perspective to get an idea for how he's seeing the field. And for some reason, it's bugged out. Hello? I can't click off of it. What's going on? I broke it. It's literally not working. I can't even escape. Hello? Psionics, help me? Do I have to reboot the game? Do I have to Alt F4? Really? Okay. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Let's just close Rocket League up real quick. It's a common glitch. All right, that's fun. That's no problem. We'll get it right back up. Does someone remember what timestamp we were at? I'll skip ahead. I think I remember where we were. But I was spending a little too much time on that. I think my takeaway there for you as you look at this beautiful black screen, just before the goal. Yes, thank you. There was only one goal. That really helps. Let's get that up. Rocket League is rebooted. Let's go to ball chasing. Let's hit play. Let's put display capture back on. We're back in business, baby. Skip to the goal. Yeah, right before the goal. All right. Let's go back. Autocam and dreaz. All right. So yeah, I actually think the better. So what's an alternative for dreaz here is what I was trying to get to. So the alternative for dreaz is you come up and coming up on this challenge is okay. And what if he fakes? He could fake that challenge or try to force the ball into the corner a little bit more. That'll buy JNABs and Chicago a little more time to get a better angle. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough angle save for either of them. Obviously, Atomic wins the challenge in the best way possible, and they score. So that's a tight spot. Envy were whittling them down on defense for a while. But I do like a couple of things from dreaz. I think you see good boost management on defense, and that's a good challenge as well. And I think you see some hesitance as well. He's not willing to go for every single touch. Oh, just as I say it, there's hesitation here. So JNABs is coming back. What's he seeing? Chicago coming out of the play. So, well, JNABs is already out, and he's probably already recovered by this point. But dreaz, he could probably take the 50 there, or he could probably take the challenge. He has Mist pretty beat, because Mist is still turning around. And it's pretty low percentage. Like, if he takes that ball, let's look at the instance he could jump for that. So as soon as that ball bounces, he could jump right here, right? Mist is still turning around, but where's he going to go? Mist, he's got the coverage. Mist got all... Whoops, that's the eraser. Mist has all that covered. Atomic is there too for the failsafe. So taking that challenge probably is pretty difficult, but also giving Mist a free touch is pretty dangerous. So you're in between a rock and a hard place. I don't know why I'm circling dreaz. You're rocking on a hard place if you're dreaz in a decision here. So he ends up freezing up on this play. And go back to dreaz. No glitches, please. Oh, and that works out perfectly. Mist doesn't get a solid touch out.
Thanks.
Mist comes up for that, and there's a potential for a hard boomer there, but that's not a good touch from Mist. Janaps punishes him, but Atomic throws it out. dreaz, ooh, that's a big chance, but it's a tight window. You got Mist, who's already kind of turning around on that play. You put it more center. He likely gets up in time, but he's going to have to work for it. The point is, dreaz on this shot doesn't really make Envy work too hard for it. Atomic gets back up. It's easy to get that clear off the post for him. But Janaps keeps it going. Chicago keeps it going. It's a decent attempt from dreaz. Lets the play develop in front of him. Got the boost steal as well. His teammates are winning every touch. And that's a tough stretch for him to get around. And you talk about mechanical ability there to get around that ball and get it on the corner. You see how it bumped on his... We're talking about potential power shots. So if he could get his corner, the corner where his wheel is on that ball, if I draw real quick, if he can get this part of his car on that ball as he angles towards the net, that's going to be a tough and powerful shot for Atomic to save. But instead, it kind of hits him here, which totally deadens his shot. Let's just erase. And boom. So it's a weak shot. Atomic can easily save it. And you saw it kind of came into the net. If it's a little harder and a little high, and then it'll be a little higher, maybe Atomic doesn't make that save. Love that touch from dreaz. We're moving at breakneck here. Move back a little bit. dreaz misses that touch. He's rotating the whole way back, looking for boost. He's got it. And that's a smart touch. Keeping it away from the defender. You see that touch a lot. He'll steal the boost out. G2 ultra aggressive. You see dreaz, he wanted to turn in on that play too. But as soon as he recognizes that, well, the bounce isn't really his and Atomic's there. Wow, that's a good touch from Turbo. dreaz does the right thing there, right? He pulls off on that initial play, and then if Chicago forces Atomic into a tough spot. But dreaz can't make the touch because Turbo's insane. Good sequence overall. dreaz is seamlessly flowing. And I don't think there's been too much you could really fault him for. It's just that one, really the one shot opportunity. But I don't really think you can fault dreaz's positioning too much. Maybe the hesitance against Mist was a little more glaring than I was making it out to be, but I really don't, I don't think so. I think if he takes that challenge, it's difficult. But you definitely risk more giving Mist a free opportunity at the net. Now dreaz has no boost here, but he ends up making the save. And let's see how this all started. So dreaz had some pretty good boost management earlier in the game. He's got this boost. Now he has to wait for that pass to come out. Now he turns up because he sees his teammate rotating out here. So Chicago's rotating out. dreaz is going to turn in. That's a quick second man, right? But Turbo's there. And so dreaz immediately turns off the play again. But Chicago's there to back you up. So dreaz is in position. No boost though. And he's able to make the save. I don't know why you hear me getting excited. I've watched that like 3 times now. And I'm like, oh! So, give me 1 second. Boop. Boop. Let's go here. Let's go here. So, Janaps doesn't get a solid touch. And really, there was nothing much that was going to happen there. dreaz turns up in case like he gets that 50 against Turbo. But there's not really a chance for a pass on that play. And so he's put back. So 10 boost. He pulls off. He knows Mist is there, uses that wave dash to keep speed. And it's the momentum against the back wall that's most important here, because you lose all of that velocity that you have when you go up the side wall. You're going at the minimum pace the accelerate will put you. So he uses his boost and he uses his wall dash to keep that momentum going. And he's not going as fast as possible, but he does keep pace with Mist there. That was great use in a low boost situation on defense from dreaz. He pulled off on the challenge in the corner. Again, dreaz could, in the corner here, he could swing wide and try to win that 50. But most times you take that 50 in the corner, it's going to turn straight up the wall. Just to make sure we have a consistent visual for you guys. It's going to go straight. I always grab the eraser. Straight up the wall here. And who benefits most from up the wall? Really depends on positioning, does it? But most times it does benefit the offense to keep pressure up. It's better if you want to control the game instead of just challenging every... why am I circling him? Instead of challenging every play, you pull off on Mist here. And then you make a valiant effort at the save. It's really good low boost situation from dreaz. A good use of fundamental mechanics to maintain his speed and to make the perfect touch. And JKnaps is in position to take that touch away. Now, dreaz still has no boost, but his teammates are good enough to buy him plenty of time, and now he's in midfield with a full tank. 50 doesn't exactly go his way, but he grabs the ball. It's a decent shot, and I like that whole sequence from dreaz. I don't really think there's much bad there. This is, yes, just as an update for those just joining, this is the Fall Classic Grand Finals between G2 and Envy. We'll be looking at 2 games from this one, and then we're going to go back to the semifinals and look at 2 games from Faze. So one of the big questions I actually have right now, because we've seen dreaz be a little more patient behind the ball, I wonder if that's a factor of Envy, and if he'll play any differently against a much more aggressive team like Faze. His teammate's demoed here. Just wants to get the 50. Not a bad idea. You force Atomic out. Atomic makes a great second touch, though. But again, I think dreaz makes the correct decisions here. Your teammate gets demoed. Force Atomic to play that upwards. That's good enough. Now Chicago's got to make the touch, but Atomic kind of outplays him there. dreaz 23 boost, but he wins the 50. And now he needs some boosts. And there's not a lot of pressure from Envy, so he knows he can take his time. Lets that come to him. Again, not wanting to rush it. Letting the play develop in front of him. But G2 couldn't generate really any offense. But that's a... You're looking at the team as a whole. Really, we're just looking at dreaz in these small situations. How does he handle each situation he's in? I think dreaz is pretty poised on defense. He's pretty patient behind the ball as well. He's much more willing to give Chicago and JKnaps the lead on the play and be the more aggressive players. dreaz much more willing to hang back. Now, that could be because he trusts JKnaps and Chicago, and that's how they play this on G2. They've played a lot together up to this point. This is why I wanted to look at the Fall Classic, because it means dreaz has had the most playtime possible, and you're going to get the best look at how he plays with G2. This doesn't mean that he's going to play the same type of play style with Envy. Turbo and Mist are very different players from Chicago and JKnaps. So does dreaz play a more patient role on G2? He might not even play a patient role in the next game. We have to find out. That's the questions we're answering today. But in game 1, he was very patient. G2 didn't really have a lot of opportunities, and that was due to Envy having really great form in that game, honestly. dreaz gave the respect that he had to, and I think he made minimal mistakes. There was 2 shot opportunities that dreaz had that he could have placed better. That low boost opportunity we saw at the beginning of the game, where he careened too far out, and then that shot that he had on target that was it was off target, and it could have been better accuracy. So that was game 1. Let's look at game 2. Also, hi chat, how you doing? Jorby, is there any space for complexity later? I'm looking at individual players right now, and my focus is going to be on players that got transferred or even new players. We'll see how many we get through. I have a feeling this is going to take up a significant chunk of time just on dreaz, but yeah. It should be fun. Gregan was doing some analysis earlier, and he said the only reason EU is better is that they're more efficient with boost. Thoughts? I mean, they are more efficient in general. They're very good at challenging the ball. It's a whole discussion that we can get into later, but right now, let's get into the second match with dreaz. Will this kind of content be on YouTube as well? Seems perfect for a YouTube series. I agree, Bloost, and that's exactly what I intend to do. You can follow me, or you can subscribe to me on YouTube at Jorby, please. And this one is going to get uploaded, and hopefully this is the first in a long series of player analysis. My goal with this is to do this all season long. Take players that are interesting or topical and break down their play over multiple games, see if we can derive what their tendencies are and what their play style is. So a lot of this, I've done some analysis on my own. I haven't done a lot of live analysis, so this is like really my first live analysis in a couple of months. So I've said it before. I'll probably say it a couple of times for people who join the stream late, but just bear with me through these growing pains. You know, the shouty man has to put his analysis cap on, but appreciate you guys hanging around and chilling and chatting. What players have you done so far? Just dreaz so far. Do one of the future world champ rise. I will rise. I will. We'll do a rise one soon, but not yet. Let's pull up game number 2 of this series. And the question I want to ask myself is, will we see the same dreaz that we saw in game 1? So they were playing, dreaz was playing a very safe game for the most part. There was one aggressive challenge where he got scored on. So how does he approach game number 2? Keep in mind, G2 do win this. Oh, I don't know if they win game 2, but I think they do. They do win game 2. Perfect. Let's pause this. How's the music for you guys, by the way, on game sound? Is everything perfect? No one's complained, so I'm assuming everything's perfect. Boom. There we go. Last question I'll look at, and then we're getting right to the games. Boop. Can you also do a Twitter post if you're appearing on other streams so we can watch? You know what, Timmel? That sounds like a good idea. So I might do that. I don't know. I generally don't do that because, like, a lot of times it's, like, by complete randomness and happenstance that I'm on another stream. But if I know I'm going to be ahead of time, then, yeah. All right, here we go. I think it's funny that, you know, with how aggressive G2 want to play, and dreaz is still positioning quite aggressively, I'd say, but it's not over-aggression. Let's see if we see that same patience from him. He's pulling off way wide on this. He's not really in the play right now, but he'll be able to clear, or he'll be able to protect the long clear. Grab the midfield boost. That's a great recovery off the back wall from him. So yeah, not much dreaz could do. Kind of let that play develop. It's kind of a scrum up there, and you just want to protect the quick clear out. dreaz does that excellently on the recovery as well. Again, deep third man for dreaz, but he's starting to come up as the challenges happen. That's an aggressive push from dreaz, and nobody's really ready for that. But I still like this. Chicago comes up. This is the buy time for JNaps. Two things are going to happen. JNaps is going to be able to turn and immediately bomb that ball, or he's going to be back and ready to pull that one out. Envy couldn't get anything going, so that play works for dreaz. I like the challenge. Way to not let it go. Or not the challenge, but the touch. And dreaz spending a lot of time behind Chicago and JNaps, but he took his chance at the ball there. Gets knocked out. And dreaz is actually first man on this. Chicago's kind of out of the play. Chicago would be first man if Atomic plays that in, but dreaz knows Atomic is going for missed, and he goes for that 50. He ends up missing the ball, but this is just trying to get in front of missed, right? He sees missed go up. He knows that's going to be a pass. And it doesn't matter that he didn't make contact, actually. Because missed didn't make contact. Oh, that's tight. Maybe a little panicky from dreaz. Chicago comes down. You can see why he panics. Chicago's able to recover. He's got enough boost. But the reason dreaz turns in here is because look at this initial trajectory from Chicago. Comes off. It's going to be tough to make a challenge there. dreaz able to get behind that ball. So it was actually good coverage there from dreaz. Again, we're going to be re-rolling a lot. I might miss something on the first or second go-around, so just be patient with me. I'll have fun defending that. Have fun defending that if Turbo is able to put that on target. You got Chicago coming to try to 50 that. Turbo is not actually able to get around the ball. So it works out. It's a good 50 from dreaz. And now you're in recovery mode. dreaz also really willing to just rotate out after the first touch. Very team-oriented. Tried to lean that one up for Chicago. Steals the corner boost. Avoids getting demoed by Atomic. Gets bumped out of the way. Or actually into the play. And this is good. You're seeing Envy kind of weave around or try to weave around. Atomic, he bumps dreaz on that play. It gets him, or he gets in front of dreaz and plays that one out. dreaz is in position for a pass from Chicago, but he actually comes down. So if we look at it again, let's see, right there on the 50. I actually don't know why he goes down on that one. He's got 36. He can get up there. It works out. But I think that, again, that's showing you the hesitation from dreaz. That is one thing that's been consistent so far, is we do see hesitation. Where he sees Turbo up, and maybe that's informing him to come back down on the play. But if he stays on the wall, if he drives up a little bit, drives up the wall here, now he's got a harder pass to JNAPS. dreaz has made his life more difficult coming down onto the ground. Because look, he comes back onto the wall to get this pass over to JNAPS as soon as he realizes that, oh, the ball's free and the play's dead for G2. But imagine dreaz stays on that back wall, or on that side wall. He gets a hard pass out to JNAPS, and Mist is all by himself to defend a 2-on-1, and that's a really favorable position for G2 to be in. But because dreaz comes back down, he ends up wasting time, and that ball hangs around for so long, giving dreaz not really the best pass. JNAPS has to come more inwards. There's no real shot for him, and they have to work a lot harder to move this ball down the field, and it's a dead play. So we're seeing multiple scoring opportunities where dreaz has a chance to either set up his teammate on a pass or taking the shot himself, and it's either been inaccurate or hesitation. We have seen that a couple of times now. That's a good bump in front. That bailed dreaz out of a really tough situation. So dreaz no boost here. You basically have to pick where Atomic's going to go, and he goes a little high on that. And again, you're rushing, right? You got no boost. You don't really know the situation with Atomic. You see he's boosting. And so you think the momentum's going to keep going forward. But then Atomic stops boosting here. And that's a smart 50 from Atomic to beat dreaz on that play. And that's a factor of dreaz not having enough boost. That's boost informing dreaz's decision-making right there. If dreaz has more than like 20 boost coming into this play, let's look at that one more time. Has to expend the tank to get in front. Maybe he takes that a little lower, but I think he's expecting Atomic to push that, and he has to make a decision. It ends up working out for G2, because even if dreaz doesn't get the perfect touch, it does kick the ball back out, right? So he ends up accomplishing what he wants to do, but it's also potentially dangerous because Turbo's coming in, and it's that bump from Chicago that actually saves G2 on that play. dreaz letting the play develop, waiting. And there's nothing there, so he pulls off. That's fine. Always keep yourself in position for the next touch. Don't overcommit if you don't need to. And I think that's something that I really like from dreaz, and something that I think that makes him pretty consistent when it comes to his touches behind the ball, or rather his consistency is in positioning. His positioning has been pretty great. But his decisions coming out of that positioning is really where I think the hammer is coming down on dreaz, where we're kind of picking on him a little bit, with some of the decisions that he's made. But I think one thing that's really positive for dreaz is his patience actually pays off more times than it doesn't, because he ends up winning those challenges because he's good at managing his boost and because he's good at not just committing on every play and really seeing where his opportunities really are. So I really like dreaz's boost management. Like, overall, it has been solid. He hasn't been wasteful. He'll pull off on the play, go for a boost every now and again. Yo, Time Walk, thank you so much for the sub. 20 months! That's got to be close to a record. Welcome to the stream, my friend. It's good to see you, Time Walk. Glad you've joined the stream. Whoop. That was great. Everything there was good from dreaz after the initial disaster. So, Chicago's back. dreaz wants to play a more aggressive second man here. He knows JNAPS is behind the ball. He thinks, okay, this 50 could kick out. I need to use the draw tool more. Let's put this over here so it's more in my eyes. Actually, yeah, right there. It's pretty in my eyesight. So this 50 looks like it could go a couple of ways, right? We know where it goes. It goes here. We'll use purple to signify where it's going to go. Let's use red to see where it could go. So the way the challenge is going on the approach from Mist and JNAPS, it could kick out here. So this is pretty good positioning from dreaz if you want to be aggressive and you want a good follow-up. You got Chicago backing you up back here. So you don't need to stress too much about what's going on behind you. That's the beauty of second man, but it can really make or break your offense. Now, the challenge goes completely for Mist, and the ball heads like just skirts right by dreaz, and it makes the situation really awkward for him, but he makes the most of it here. Let's go back to dreaz. So he pulls back, flips forward to conserve boost. That's another crucial aspect. The boost into flip will always be the fastest way to move back. And then this catch right there to pop it away. It's difficult here. dreaz is managing with a little bit of boost. We've been talking about his boost management the whole time. So here he goes. Turns around. Has to use about 40 there to get back, but he's in position to play that ball. That first touch against the back wall is great. I won't harp too much on the mechanics here. But this first touch, light to allow himself to jump up and try to push that ball over to the corner. Now it pops back out. He can't get a perfect touch onto it, so it kicks back over to Atomic. But the rebound is slower because of the care dreaz took on that touch right here. He flips back, gets the speed to get back into position, slows the touch down with a little tap before he jumps. So, right, you're killing the momentum of the ball with just a touch before you jump, controlling touch, and that ball kicks out a little bit. But now he's still got 22 boost. Comes down, uses his boost to maintain momentum off the ramp, and able to get up and make that challenge. That's great from dreaz to make up for a really awkward situation where you could make so many mistakes here. But that's a really good touch and return from dreaz. Exactly, Blues. That sideways angle or orientation, if you will. We'll go back one more time just to look at it. Gets wide of that ball, plays it to the side, and he can't play that ball anymore. But dreaz has done his job, right? He just saved a goal. Oh, dreaz has been on low boost life for a while here. He's finally got that corner boost. He got bumped out of it. This is a tough situation to be in as a defense, too. You never want to be reacting as a defender. But if you're going to have to react in this situation, at least you got 92 boost. He knows that pass is coming. That's an impossible situation for dreaz. But you have to jump up for it, right? At least make the play. You're the first one in the air. And now there's it's drawn up a little easier for JNAPS. We'll get a little bump on dreaz, and there it pops. We're not going to harp too much on every single decision that happens, but more of the major ones. I think we've seen the negatives and we've seen the positives. We've seen some negatives and some positives, maybe not all of them. Good launch. And oops. Not the best read. dreaz tried to be quick. Tried to be quick and dirty. He's got enough pads to give himself enough room, or not enough room, but enough vertical velocity to get up to that ball. But his approach and his launch is really poor here. So he doesn't have nearly enough sideways momentum to get behind that ball. But he's trying to do this bang bang, right? That's a tough angle to get a gauge on where that ball's going to drop. And it kicked up a little higher than he was probably expecting, but it's okay if he misses this, because Mist going for that, he doesn't get the perfect touch. He knows dreaz is going to be up for it. So that's why sometimes missing the ball right there doesn't actually really hurt your team that much, because Mist knows dreaz is approaching. He's got to respect that area of where dreaz is, and Mist doesn't get a great touch onto the ball, so G2's push can keep going. Now, I just want to say, Atomic has been really good in this series. His touches have been really smart, utilizing the space that he's had. We're not talking about Atomic right now. We're talking about dreaz, but every time Atomic is behind the ball, I swear he's winning great 50s in these 1v1 situations, and then even there in space, making the smarter touch rather than the outplay touch, which I don't think is something that Atomic really did all the time in the past. It's a decent enough touch from dreaz. It's going to be hard to get a booming clear. Doesn't matter, though. Has dreaz been out of position one time? Has dreaz been out of position once over the last 2 games that we've watched? We could say about the touch. We could talk about his approach and the decision he makes. But I don't think dreaz has been out of position one time. Pulls off on that challenge. He could go up for that. Or rather, no. I was looking at something else. I'm sorry. So he picks up the boost here. He sees Turbo up. He's going to play the back wall. That's what gives him the best chance at making the save. He gets it. Puts it right over his head. And that's a goal. And that all starts, again, with smart positioning from dreaz. He's never really taken himself out of the play. Coming back, he's got no boost. Atomic. Good continuing touch. Turbo's up for this. It's an opportunity. But dreaz knows, get on the back wall. Oh, Turbo didn't get a solid touch. That's an easy clear to JNAPS. Oh, JNAPS lets the ball drop for Mist. And it's an easy goal. I want to know, was JNAPS actually intending to fake that? Just want to know. Just want to see it. Full boost and... I think JNAPS let that one go. I will say JNAPS faked it. Let's say that for sure. Either way, it's stunned Mist. I don't know if there were any other saves, but it's potentially dreaz did call him off, yeah. Nothing crazy happening here. Weaving in and out. G2 just playing for time. They know they probably got it. dreaz sees it, and that's a GG. So I think dreaz played really patiently again in these first 2 games against Envy. And I don't know yet. We're going to go to Faze now. We're going to watch dreaz play against Faze, which was a dominant win for G2, by the way. And that's why I'm curious if we're going to see dreaz play a little bit differently. He's not afraid to get aggressive, but I think more times than not, dreaz will stay on the ground. He will conserve his boost for the highest optimal play. We've seen him multiple times now be very patient, not take the immediate challenge. There are several times where he could have taken a challenge, and it wouldn't have been the worst decision. But he hasn't really done that, and his patience, I think, has paid off for G2 in that game. That's also game 2 of Envy. Oopsies. So let's back it up. Appreciate all the follows and everything that have come in, guys. I hope you've been enjoying the stream so far. It has been fun to do some replay analysis. This helps me. Keeps everything fresh in my brain for when the new split starts, and I know what's going on. And I have a lot of fun doing these, so appreciate you guys' support. Let's see. Let's go G2 Faze. And we'll look at we'll start with game 2. Why not? Let's pause that up real quick.
Thanks.
And let's snap to dreaz. That's not dreaz. That's dreaz. And player view. Back to the kickoff. Now G2 get a bunch of goals in this game. Another good cheat up. G2 love that cheat up. They were successful with it most times on their kickoffs against Envy. Woo! See, that's the beauty of having Chicago on your team. You don't... This is just a lob. You're just like, here you go, Chicago, score that. And he almost does. He almost hits the wide angle. It's got to be great to have a talent like that on your team. Oh. Now, dreaz, this is, again, a little bit of hesitance. He doesn't know where exactly that's going to go, but he does want to try to make a challenge if AJ falls down onto it. It's hard to tell from this position. As soon as he sees AJ there, he knows that the flip resets there. But AJ drops a little bit. He can't make the 50. But AJ has to respect the fact that dreaz is there. He doesn't know exactly when that challenge is coming. You know what? We're gonna spy a look at AJ. I'm just curious what AJ saw. I want to see. He sees dreaz there. Up, he sees dreaz. Now dreaz is hiding behind the ball, and AJ actually has like no boost. Maybe dreaz knows that. That's why he gets really aggressive on that touch. I don't know. I don't know if that was knowable in that situation from dreaz. Either way, it ends up working out. That's I think for dreaz in that situation, I think you can get up a little earlier and challenge that ball. All right, AJ gets up, and maybe he doesn't initially. Chicago's still rotating back. I think dreaz can get up and challenge that, but it's that hesitance. He's much more of a patient player. He doesn't really take aggressive challenges. I think that's one of the big takeaways so far. I mean, we're only 30 seconds into Faze, but we saw against Envy too. He wasn't really willing to take every 50, even if it seemed like the better decision at the time. I'm not saying taking a 50 there was the better decision. And dreaz staying back as third man. He's got the boost. Waiting for that play to develop. Pulls off. Still not out of position. It's also, you know, dreaz played incredible during the Fall Classic. I just remember so many, like, I remember a lot of moments being like, wow, dreaz, well, way to go. We saw it against Envy in the grand final. In those first 2 games. Granted, there were like 21 games in that grand final. We could have picked so many to look at. But I did want to get a look at a different team to see how dreaz reacts to a different squad. And I think he's just very willing to let plays develop in front of him and control the ball and try to counter. It's a good pass from Jane Apps. Forced to double. That should be a goal, and it is, obviously, as we see down on the timeline. But again, wasn't really any position that dreaz was in that was really difficult. I actually want to look at this. So he's got no boost, stays under it. Classic, they don't know I don't have boost. I'm going to dribble this in front. Drops it to try to win the 50 and force it over to the corner. So you guarantee 2 things out of that play. Oops, I went forward instead of backwards. So what do you guarantee to play it over to the side? Well, he sees Illusion is waiting right here. So this is a really smart challenge from dreaz. Illusion can come in and take any kind of play that comes at him if the ball kicks out this way. So dreaz, the safest option is to take that 50 to the left. You got no boost. And again, dreaz is impressing in low boost situations. Let's continue. Oops, that's not dreaz. That's dreaz. Again, puts the shot on target. You force a double commit. Jane App scores. And that's all you need. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Oh, oh. That works out for dreaz. Because both teams cheat up on this play. Illusion's not really in position to make a play on it. He's trying to recover, maybe get onto that ball or get a bump. But this is the difference in positioning where Faze, when Illusion's playing as close as he is, you're playing with fire on this 50. If you're not there, or if that ball doesn't kick into your bumper or pop up directly for you, you might be in trouble. Dreaz gives himself a little more slack at least. And he's not in the best, he still wasn't in the best position for that. Because he kind of moves forward a little too far here on the pop-up. And so I think he gets away with that. Because Illusion decided to cheat up a little closer. But if Illusion is back a little bit, he's got Dreaz dead to rights on that play. And kickoffs can be squirrely in threes. Dreaz again letting JNaps take the ball himself. And that could be a lot due to comms as well. Oh no, Dreaz. I'm not even looking at the timeline, so I'm surprised when these goals come in. AJ gets in the way, and that's just really difficult for Dreaz to squeeze that. Like, there's so many possible options there that you have to contend with. And you have to deal with the fact that AJ just landed on top of you. You have to avoid him. And AJ just does a great job harassing Dreaz there, making life difficult. That's more AJ than it is Dreaz. Dreaz was still in position to make a touch on that ball. He could have, but when you're being harassed in that spot and you're trying to get out from under a heavy load of pressure, that's the benefit heavy pressure and slight chips put on a defender, where it's literal pixels between a ball going into the back of the net or a big save happening for Dreaz. Oh, that's beautiful when you have to do absolutely nothing on a play. Dreaz just got to watch as that ball goes in right off the kickoff. Not much to say about that one, huh? Dreaz coming up and wants to take that. The ball's taken away. And immediately wants to rotate out. I know you guys have been hearing Gregan say it, the rotate out mentality. Dreaz encapsulates what that means pretty well with G2. All right, now AJ coming down. Dreaz figured that he had time to collect some boost, and he does get the save, and he pops it over the second attacker. So that's also a recognition situation here from Dreaz. So he could come up and try to take that 50 and then be left with no boost afterwards. Instead, he knows AJ can't really get around that ball. As soon as he sees that initial touch, it's going a little far out. Dreaz wants a little bit more boost. And I don't think this is actually the optimal play. So he uses his boost to go get that. But he's got 62. 62 is plenty on defense. And we've seen Dreaz be able to use his boost to great efficiency. He's very capable of it. But you see him turn ball cam off, and he is hungry for that boost. Like, if Dreaz had additional vision, he's seeing red. He's seeing pure red. He's thinking, I only got 50 boost. I need 50 more. It works out for Dreaz in the end because of the shot, but let's watch this. So let's slow it down again. So we look right here, this touch. I actually think Dreaz can get up to this and force a 50. That would be extremely aggressive. There are pros and cons to that. That's a high risk, high reward play. If you jump from here, let's see, AJ, AJ is going to go for the outplay mechanics. That's the type of game he's always going to play. So AJ is going to carry the ball this way. Let me close this. Oh, that doesn't work. He's carrying it around and going towards the wall. Dreaz could just jump up right here, try to meet him before he can get the flip reset. It's likely Chicago can get back in time to make a save. It might be tight, but that's the situation you're in here on defense. Dreaz takes a little extra time, though, because that's not what happens. That's a potential option. Now, what are the consequences of that? Well, he's going to have to use all of his boost to do it. So his touch needs to be perfect. And if he's not confident, and I think Dreaz more times than not is going to stay on the ground than take a midair challenge, he's going to let AJ carry that. Now, I think this is really dangerous. Because AJ's got that flip reset. You're all of a sudden out of position. Here's the other option for dreaz. So he could go up the sidewall. Or not the sidewall, excuse me. He could go up the back wall here instead. Let me look. Boop, boop. He could drive up this way on the back wall. And then he's got a much better angle to defend AJ. Because even if AJ goes over to the corner, dreaz can still keep his boost, right? He had 70 at the start of AJ's touch. When he started inside the box, if he goes up the back wall, he can conserve a little bit more boost, maybe still have around 50 to have a better angle at where AJ is going to go with that ball. He was trying to steal the boost from AJ. Why? Let's look. Well, it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. So let's look. Again, reroll. Did I go ahead? I think I went ahead. Yeah. Nothing happens out of this play. Hang on a second. I am all out of sorts. There's dreaz. All right. So right here, I don't know. I don't think there's any indication AJ gives that he's going for the corner. That touch is a controlled touch. He's boosting towards it. He's obviously trying to get under the ball. I think dreaz just wanted the boost because AJ gets over top of him. And the only reason this isn't a goal is because Chicago gets in front of that ball and forces first killer to go under him. So dreaz can cover the weak shot. But I actually think dreaz can get on the back wall, make a more solid challenge if he's already on the back wall against AJ. AJ would be out after the... AJ would use a lot of boost, yes, and then be out of the play. But okay, he gets the corner boost, and dreaz wins the touch on the back wall, and Chicago follows it up. Cool. AJ has the boost, and it's a counterattack the other way. I think the smarter decision for dreaz is to go for control on the back wall, and don't prioritize the boost. You have Chicago that's already rotating back for you. He's covering the angle for you, and you could get a better clearance angle. If you go up the wall here, you know AJ's boosting towards that ball. He's going for the mechanical outplay. And I just think that's a tougher position. You force Chicago to come up and make that 50, and that play is saved because of Chicago. dreaz makes this touch, but first killer was forced into a tough situation. So I don't think the thought dreaz was having was, oh, I need to protect that boost from AJ. Because I just don't think that's where... And if that was the thought he was having, I don't think that's where AJ was going with the play, even when we look at it full speed. Either way, they don't get scored on, so it doesn't matter. But I do think that's because of Chicago. But I think that the thing I'm trying to highlight is dreaz's patience and his hesitation sometimes get him into trouble in a situation where he's got to make a decision, right? You go up the back wall or one more time, I'm going to go over this, and I promise we're going to move on. But, right, you make two decisions here. You go up the back wall, and you get up, and you can make a challenge against AJ. Or you go for this boost, and you just give AJ the play. If AJ gets a more solid touch on that ball, maybe first killer can get over Chicago. But again, that play's made by Chicago. It's a tough situation for dreaz to be in. But the thing I really wanted to highlight was we've seen the patience or hesitation. It's been one or the other from him, and I think that's been impactful in terms of how fast they clear the ball out or whether or not they get shots. dreaz trying to stay in the play here. Oh, that kicked out weird. You can't really blame him too much for that. Thinking patience. That's good. Good stuff from dreaz. You don't got a lot of boost. That wasn't a great touch. I said good stuff from dreaz, but I actually think, let's look. Comes up on this. Wants a controlling touch. That's not the best one. First killer's in an awkward situation, though. And then dreaz makes the most of it by cutting off the easy clear. And G2 are there, so dreaz gets that initial touch. Chicago up for him. It's defended. That's good from dreaz. Now he's got no boost. He needs to get back. And he tried to get that play on first killer. Tried to see if he could get a bump. And not a bad idea. Oh. Love the idea there from dreaz. The old breezy. But who was it? AJ that was all over him? No shot at it. And no boosts. Up with JNaps here. Let's JNaps come down, and now AJ steals that corner boost. Let's see how dreaz is following the play here. His first killer gets over JNaps initially. dreaz thinks he's going to have to get on that ball, but then JNaps, I think he gets kicked by first killer on that play. Yeah, JNaps gets kicked, and then he's able to scoot up the ball and push it back to the other side, so dreaz comes back down. JNaps gets another continuing touch, giving dreaz a ton of time, so he's going to collect boost, but stay in the play the whole time. He doesn't leave the play at all to go get that midfield boost. He's staying right in to react to anything that happens in the play in front of him. Oh. And he lost that 50, but those are some tight 50s. Not going to harp too much on those. Let's keep going. No boost for dreaz. This could be difficult. Yup, 3-man pass. Oh, yeah. That's a tough situation to be in. The rotation is completely... the rotation's got a big gap in it right now. dreaz has 21 boosts, so he can't really play in a forward position and be ready for the next touch. JNaps is way out of the play up in the right corner over here. And Chicago's not in the play either, but dreaz is left in the worst situation you want to be as a third man. Nope, low boost, and all three players barreling down on you. Now, he doesn't get scored on, but still, that's a tough situation to be in. Whoops. Yo, this song moves. Anyways, first killer recognizes the space, pass over, and then Chicago immediately back. Actually got back so fast. It doesn't even matter. dreaz had the backup. Faze took a little too long. Ooh. I keep doing that. I want to go back a little bit, actually. So let's look. JNaps flipping back. And he can make that challenge, bailing dreaz out. dreaz steals the boost away from Faze, or protects his boost from Faze, rather. And that's a situation where dreaz is in a tough spot, right? So let's see. He gets that boost steal. He has to avoid the bump. JNaps and Chicago are in front of it. dreaz keeps driving forward. And this is what ends up putting him out of position. So he sees right here. He sees Chicago and Illusion on this 50. It looks like Chicago's going to at least get to that ball against Illusion, if not win it. So he turns up. And then as soon as he turns up, instead of staying back on the back post and letting that play develop, now the ball's over his head. He can't really get a touch onto the ball. And first killer has a chance on net. Luckily, JNaps is still there on defense. And dreaz is good enough to get up and at least force first killer off that ball. And again, G2 don't get scored on. So the little things that you look at really don't matter too much. Would it have been better to loop around in net there? Let's take a look one more time. No. I think the only chance he has, if he stays here on the back wall, lets the play develop in front of him. Like, this is the area, the closest he should probably be creeping up right now with the structure here in front of him. This is the aggressive mentality that might be informing dreaz on his decision-making as well. And you got Chicago in front of it. Good chance he might win that 50 against Illusion. You want to have a quick counterattack, so you want to turn up the field immediately to be ready for Chicago's 50. So he's playing the win for Chicago, or at least playing the neutral ball. Like, right, the ball goes anywhere here, and dreaz is in position. But that's pretty aggressive positioning for a third man. JNaps is still kind of out of the play here, and you want to be able to defend the net well. So if he spends a lot of time turning around in net, first killer's already going to be in the air, and it's going to be a goal. But if he comes up here, or not there, that's not what I want to say. I want to say the closest he should be creeping up is like right around that area, right in the back post. And so he can respond in two ways. If the challenge does drop in front of the box, easy. Drive across the pitch. No problem, that's a save. Get up here, you've got the boost to be able to handle it, and getting that clear that comes out off the backboard is way easier. And again, this kind of positioning comes letting the play develop in front of you. Dreaz is operating under the assumption that Chicago is at least going to get a neutral 50, if not a favorable one, to get a quick counterattack. Because if he wins that 50, look where JNaps is. JNaps or Chicago even could turn down the ball. Faze are going to be caught out, rushing back on defense. And that's a classic G2 move, right? To move and kill you on the quick counterattack. But if Dreaz is a little more patient here and lets the play develop, and we've seen him do that a couple of times, then he's got to play. If he drives up here and turns around and net and tries to make a play on the ball, I think that's a lot harder. You got to react and guess where first killer is going to put that ball. It's better to keep the play in front of you. Keep the camera on the play in front of you to know where that ball is going. And he might even beat first killer to the ball. If he's on this back wall, he'll be able to launch with a little bit of height. He'll have the height advantage on first killer. There's a lot of different ways dreaz could have approached this play. And again, they don't get scored on, right? So no problem. But that's because of a great play from JNaps. And dreaz does push first killer off the ball, which helps. dreaz does a nice job recovering here and making up for his bad decision. So I won't say bad. Poor decision. We will use our terminology correctly. And let's click back in. So yeah, that's not how you want to approach that if you're dreaz. But he does push first killer on the ball. I'm curious. This isn't really relevant. Yeah, first killer doesn't have any boosts, so maybe that's not a factor. But either way, that's even, if anything, that tells you that dreaz should have been on back post more because he would have had an easier time winning that ball. How'd that 50 go so wrong? All right, I won't do this too often because we are focusing on dreaz, but let's do look at how the 50 went wrong. I missed the boost steal. See, I'm very moment to moment right now. Oops. Got to go back a little bit. So the whole way back. AJ kicks that ball up, and Lucian just has him clean beat. So dreaz, this is a product of depth perception ruining you, right? It's really hard to get a gauge of where that 50 is. Like your perception could make an argument, and you don't really know how exactly the trajectory of that ball's going from AJ. So that's a really tough spot for dreaz to read. It's really tough to read, and you can't harp on him too much. So, but we looked at Chicago, and that was a clean beat for Lucian. But again, that's the power of perspective and gives us insight as to why dreaz makes the decision that he makes. And that's why I'm not going to fault him too much for that decision. But I do think, and someone pointed it out in chat, that preemptive push past the post is a common decision you'll see made. I won't say it's a mistake because it depends on the context, right? It's not a mistake until your teammate loses the 50 and the ball's in the back of your net. Then your decision looks really stupid. But if you take if dreaz turns up and Chicago actually wins that, dreaz looks like a genius going for that challenge. So you're gonna rock in a hard place if you're dreaz there. Not gonna fault him too much. But if he does go with a little more of that patient play style and he goes up the back wall, it's a guaranteed beat on first killer because he had just stolen the boost from him earlier, and you could even put more pressure on them. Overall, really solid game from dreaz. I think we're really splitting hairs when it comes to the decisions that dreaz is making. I'm really overall impressed from him. He's not trying to beat you with mechanics. He's much more willing to let his teammates do a lot of the work for him, and he seems much more comfortable following the play up and following it up, winning that 50, giving Chicago and JNaps the leeway they need to succeed. Now, is that going to be how he plays on Envy? That's hard to say, but I think it is very promising for dreaz that we've seen his positioning be so consistent. His positioning has been really solid. I just think it's those little decisions that he's making. And he's still new, right? dreaz is still new to the RLCS stage. He's only going to get better from here. So those little decisions that we're picking apart are also going to get better. And we'll look at him again over time, too. Let's look at game 3 with Faze. G2 won all of these. Let's go to dreaz. We want... Why does it do that? If I go on the player, clearly I want these options. I don't understand why. I complain about this every time. It's never going to matter. All right. Let's look to here. Boom. Before we get started, let's look at chat. It's even more impressive watching his point of view, honestly. When I watch the full stream, he seems to disappear sometimes. That's because he's being very methodical in his positioning. Yeah, he doesn't go for the ball himself very often. He's a very selfless player. I think we have seen that consistency through both Envy and Faze. And dreaz has played fairly consistently. He knows the field that he's in. Oh my goodness. That's tight if you're G2. Anyway, dreaz makes a better decision here. No, that's a great play from first killer. How do you beat that speed out of the corner, man? Like, you grab that boost, you think, okay, there's no way first killer comes out of the side and beats me there, right? You want to ask my opinion on the Envy and G2 move? Well, that's kind of why I'm looking at dreaz. I want to look at dreaz and I want to look at Atomic, and I kind of want to see what we're going to expect for both teams. I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now. My head is telling me on paper that Envy have won this trade, and I know a lot of people are going to question mark me on that, but I think that so far through the 3 games that we've watched so far, I feel justified because of how solid dreaz's positioning is, and because of his decision making, and I really like that. Now, Atomic did play pretty well in that grand final in those 2 games we were seeing. And it's entirely possible that this change of environment works out for the best for both players, and we might argue forever which team won the trade, right? But I actually really like dreaz. I think he's a good fit for Envy with his type of playstyle. His type of playstyle really fits with the way Envy like to play the game. Smart positioning, good counterattacks, and that's what you love to see. Here you're seeing dreaz. And I'm curious if on Envy, if dreaz is as patient or if he doesn't take more aggressive challenges. Because you could still be a solid positional player and also take more aggressive challenges. But dreaz, he doesn't really opt for that a lot of the time. And I think that's to his benefit. So dreaz letting that ball come down. Tough to win that flick. You're playing a follow-up initially, right? So he's third man. Now JNap's coming in. Now he's second man. Chicago's rotated out. He's hoping for a touch here from JNaps. JNaps doesn't like it. He pulls off. dreaz is actually in a tough spot, but this is okay as a team, right? JNaps can pull off of this play. dreaz is here in case JNaps wants to take that play. Chicago's rotating back. And I think that's a pretty difficult spot to be in. dreaz was in position, but first killer wins that flick because he's got control. So that's tough for dreaz to be in. Oh, that is an aggressive pass from JNaps. Chicago's already getting back, but you could see a quick transition positioning out of that. That's pure faith in dreaz to get to that ball. And first killer really having to careen out of the net to make that touch. dreaz gets there. And it's no problem. I like that touch from dreaz as well. Very smart. He doesn't even use all of his boost. Good feather, and we continue to see good boost management from dreaz. It's only been, what, 1 or 2 times that we saw him prioritize boost over staying in the play, but it's all about tendencies, right? You're going to see player make every decision they could make, aggressive, passive, or otherwise, but you're going to see them tend towards a certain type of decision. I think dreaz tends to stay in the play, focus on small pads, not be as boost hungry, if you will, and easy little chips. It's only 11 boosts, but that could be the difference between making a save and getting scored on. I like his boost management. I really do. The more I'm watching dreaz, the more convinced I am that Envy are going to do really well. I was already convinced, but here's dreaz rotating around quickly. He's got a gap, and that's a poor shot. That's been, at least in the 2 series we've watched here, and I'm not watching LAN games because on LAN, you're going to play differently. The environment's different. We're going to get a quicker look at what dreaz is going to perform on how dreaz is going to perform on Envy if we look at online. Just, you know, mentality difference and all that fun stuff. But every time dreaz is shooting, it's really not that good. So here, he tries to get it on the corner. It's a poor touch. Chicago has to prevent a clear. We have seen a couple of times where Chicago and JNAPS do have to bail dreaz out of a situation. Oh my goodness, what a read! How do you read that? That's a jump and pray, man. You don't know where exactly that ball's going. AJ puts that into the top. You're scored on, but what other choice do you have? Chicago missed the ball. You gotta jump. That's a clutch save from dreaz. And like that's just the benefit of just jumping for the ball. You're not always going to have the perfect read. You're not always going to know where exactly a player is going to put a ball. But just getting your car in front of it, at least going for it. dreaz nuts, man. Oh, what a hard clear. dreaz, nonplussed. And look, he wins a free touch. Oh, he used a lot of boost there. Why are you boosting so much? JNAPS is there. I'm only going to look at that one more time. It's not that relevant. It's like the one time I've seen him really waste his boost. Oh, I feel like he was making up for an initial poor decision there. So he leaves himself dry here. 46 comes down. He wants to be ready for this pass from Chicago. So he's expending more boost. He's only got 23. Wins that 50. Or, no, he lost that 50. I'm sorry, he didn't win it. LOL. So it ends up still kind of working out, but now dreaz is out of the play for a little while. He's got to prioritize that corner boost. Doesn't matter, and he makes a great touch. So, yeah, he wasted a little boost before, but didn't really take himself out of the play completely. I think if he just waits, he might have a better 50 to take. Let's actually, one more time, guys. One more time. One more time, let's look at it. So, back it up. So, if he stops boosting here, and he lets JNAPS take it, now he probably has a little more than 40. Probably closer to like 55, 60. He can turn up the field. I'm going to draw so you guys can see what I'm trying to talk about. Let's go back a little bit, actually. Boop, boop. No! Yo, put the milk away. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate it, man. Back. Shift. So right there. Yeah, he'll have about like 50. He could turn up the field. Maybe he wants a quick recovery, but I just don't think you need the boost there. There's nothing here telling you need to get down very quickly. Collab this. If he turns here, then he actually has a better play develop for him. Let's see how it develops again. I have a very forgetful memory. Here we go. He could probably jump up for that ball with 50 or so boost, right? And then Chicago doesn't have to work as hard to get a pass over to dreaz. And so I think that's a situation where dreaz could have had a really, really solid push early on. But that decision to go up the wall, a bit of a miscomm. Or just, it's not a miscomm, it's just a little ball tunneling, if you will. Ball chasey. There's literally a word for it. I'm not trying to invent new words. But dreaz, again, nonplussed. Oh my goodness. What happened? Oh, Chicago. I will always be like, this is risky for dreaz, right? dreaz has the net. JNAPS is harassing him. Why go for the pass? Aleutian's defending the net. I will rarely like a second or third man pass. I will rarely like it. And it's for this exact reason. Why pass that ball at all? He's got all day. He's got all day to look at this. Come down. You got 60 boost. Get around that ball and put a power shot on target. Instead, Chicago, unconfident, no confidence that he can get to that ball in time. Actually, let's look at Chicago just to see his perspective on the pass. Overcomplicating it is exactly right. Truck Norris. Oh, Chicago turns off ball cam. He's trying to line that up. He thinks he has a little more space. I think I want to put this one on Chicago. It's a risky pass. I think dreaz should go for the shot, but Chicago's ready. And if he turns into that, that's a shot on target. So I actually think dreaz is taking advantage of, there's a little bit of a wider angle on the rotation, right? If Chicago, instead of, this is what he does. So let's look at yellow. Yellow is what he does. So he cuts wide, and it looks like he's trying to go for like a catch when he turns off ball cam. And then he sees AJ and is like, oh no, I've overcommitted. But if he just turns up here for the pass, that's a banger, man. Aleutian is going to have to save a powerful shot. So two situations. Do we really blame dreaz here for the pass? You put Chicago in a tough situation, but does Chicago actually make the right decision on the passing play? I think the blame is, you can put a little bit of blame on dreaz. The shot's available. JNaps is harassing Aleutian. I think the shot is a good idea, a better idea than a pass. But the pass was still good enough for Chicago. So while it wasn't the optimal decision and not the best decision, I do think it was the wrong decision because you do put Chicago in a mental position where, he knows he's got to go for that ball when it's passed in front. He turns off ball cam. He sees AJ there and he's already lost the 50. So should dreaz have gone for the pass? No, I don't think so. But I don't think it was like the absolute worst decision ever. But I will never like a second or third man passing play. I just won't. I just won't. It's so risky for exactly what's about to happen. And goal. Now Chicago touches the ball at all. That's not a goal, right? And there's no problem at all. But we can't blame dreaz too much for that. He knew Chicago was playing him pretty close. I agree. Chicago's got a challenge. I only blame dreaz so much for that play. Maybe a comms mishap. I don't know. It doesn't look like a comms mishap. Chicago was ready for a pass. It looked like Chicago didn't know AJ was there. That's what it looked like. Because he turned off ball cam and was getting on the right side of the ball like he wanted to catch it. Or go for a shot. But he clearly wasn't expecting an immediate challenge. Uh-oh. It works out. Oh, it really works out. And nope. Here it comes. There's the goal. I thought that last one was going to be the goal. So let's look back here. Pop up. So dreaz comes up, and the way you can tell a player is called off on a play is when dreaz turns his car immediately down like that. So dreaz turns away from the ball because Chicago calls him on that play. He gets down, and he really didn't use a lot of boost to get back down onto the ground. So he's still actually in this play. JNaps wants to give it to him. dreaz has the boost to make that challenge, and that's perfect. That is the aggressive type of play style G2 love to play. A double commit or a call-off that looks a little bit like a double commit turns to be the best decision possible. Chicago gets a perfect touch out to JNaps. It frees his first killer, and dreaz is given the perfect chance to play that down. So dreaz, the most important job for dreaz on this play is when he's called off is to use as little boost as possible to get back down onto the ground. And look at that. He did. And now he's got enough boost to get that 50. He only needed 20 to do it. Recovers. He used the rest of his boost to get on the ground, and he took a weak shot. I actually think his boost management falls apart a little bit here, but let's see everything that he's seeing. So he gets the touch. Use the boost to get back down. No. I think that's exactly the right call from dreaz. You don't know exactly how that 50 is going to develop. You need to get down onto the ground to get back as fast as possible. So one more down. Boom. And free shot. So even though the shot here from dreaz is weak because he's got no boost, look, he doesn't have to use a lot. That initial touch, what did he use? 15 boost? I want to look one more time at it. dreaz here. I love that initial touch That initial touch from dreaz set this all up, didn't it? dreaz could go for the outplay when he wants to. Comes down. Yeah, he used like 12 boosts to get back onto the ground and killed all his momentum on top of it. Good stuff from dreaz. Wait, 30? He didn't use 30. He had what? By the time he was in the air, 74, 66. Yeah. Came back down. He started boosting initially. So yeah, he used like 25 on the recovery, but either way. All right, we spent a lot of time on this. Chicago scores. And I don't really have much to fault for dreaz for still. I think we are seeing some trends though. Just out of 2 series that we've watched so far. Oh. Now what's going on here? See there, Jane Abs forced him off the ball. dreaz in second man, comes up and he's just very far off the ball as second man here. So you see AJ, he's very close to that ball. And dreaz turns up. That's fine. Again, it's fine to turn up as second man. Even if you're not exactly there, you do force the attack to go a specific direction. In this case, AJ right over to first killer, although that's probably where he was going to go the whole time. But I think this is where the second man position... This is why I think the second man position is the hardest to play in Rocket League. It's the hardest to play in Rocket League because it's the hardest to make the optimal decision every time. More so than first and third man. So Chicago wins this 50 here, right? But dreaz does not know where that's going to go. First killer could easily win that. He doesn't. Chicago gets that ball back out, and he wants to challenge AJ for that ball. So this works out for dreaz because he does force AJ to make the play, make the touch over to first killer. But I also think there's an argument for dreaz to pull off and defend the pass instead on the first killer. Maybe swing a little wider on it. So let's look. So it pulls off here, and right when the 50 happens, I mean, you just got to go for that challenge. See, I'm saying he could do this, but then I'm seeing it, and I'm like, I don't know what situation you see AJ there, and you don't at least try to force that ball out. So he did see AJ got bumped. He thinks he can make the play there. But that's why second man is so hard. Jane Apps is forced into that situation, but he made the touch. AJ broke the rule on, yeah. dreaz, full tank, waits for it to develop in front. He's got space. He knows it, but that first touch was not very good. Yeah, you want to get that ball on your corner. You see how I kind of got it too much on the side of his, on his side bumper. Kind of want the juice spot, right? Like right here. And dreaz hits it about like right there. So the ball kicks out away from him. You have to expend a lot more boost to chase the ball back down. And you've essentially lost control of the ball. Boop, boop. Boop. Here we go. dreaz back, wanted the full boost. It uses a little bit to get into the play again. Sees AJ. Forces the ball down. And I like that challenge from dreaz. Again, little things. Knows AJ isn't going to be able to push that ball too hard. He can get on the ground and make the 50 happen. And he's giving it to Chicago. Keeping those small pads. So dreaz is using boost to stay in the play. This is the G2 mantra mentality, right? Aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. Be ready for any play. So he'll always boost a little bit to keep himself ready for any situation here. Like even right there, you saw he used 40, but he's picking up pads and utilizing those small pads in his path. He actually got like 3 or 4 small pads there and still was able to make that touch. It wasn't the best 50. Wasn't the bounce he was expecting either. And a non-critical double commit works out for G2. Oh my goodness. Poor dreaz, man. Oh, his shots are so close. How many times have I seen you hit the post, dreaz? Oh, you could have scored so many times, my man. You could have scored so many times. Look at this. Chicago throws it up for you. Oh, it's just the time. It's a timing thing. It's like you're splitting hairs, but it could have been on target. By the way, Faze being stretchy on defense a little bit. Whoopsies. dreaz expecting first killer to go up the corner. It's a great clear from dreaz as well. Ooh, the control. I like that. You got the space. First killer's rotating back. Chicago just got a demo. You could go for a shot, but that's first killer on the back of the net there. And let's be honest, the shooting from dreaz hasn't been great. So what's better? Well, let me just swing around, keep it close. 24, he pops it up. And that's good. That was great from dreaz. Good control. If he hits that ball, like what's the consequence if dreaz just goes for the shot here? That's tough. You're going to have to put that with power and precision. First killer is likely going to get that save, and he might have a quick counterattack with Illusion just spawning as well. So really smart to control from dreaz. He does pop that up, forces Illusion up. And so that was a great play from dreaz. Good play. Maybe not great. Smart play. The smarter. dreaz demoed. Immediately coming up. Ooh. Not much you can do there. dreaz waiting for the play to develop. Not letting those 50s, or not letting the promise of a challenge inform him of his decision there. And then he was able to caress the ball back over to the orange half safely. Again, another good challenge. Don't let AJ get any free territory. He's going to play a really relaxed third man here. He's moving around on defense pretty quickly, too. If we, let's pull back a little bit. So the boost gets stolen from him here, and dreaz just decides that he's going to flip towards the corner boost because he's got the time. Perfectly fine. The ball's heading downfield. There's no reason you would need to immediately be there. Maybe there's an argument you can make to pick up those small pads in front instead, and maybe you're ready for that, but if you've got the time, go for the canister. Again, he's going to stay back. Wants to come up with J-Naps, but he won't commit till he sees it. And now he's very... The tendency that he has is he will much more often go from second to third man than he will from second to first man. So you will see dreaz. We've seen it against Envy, and we see it against Faze now. He's much more willing to give J-Naps or Chicago the ball if they have the better angle. He doesn't like diving. He doesn't like just trying to force a challenge, even though G2 love to do that at times. He really is trying to pick his battles here and give his teammates the better angle. And what it also does is it forces, when you consider Faze, you know, dreaz not going for every touch. Faze have to factor that in as well. AJ sees dreaz there, and it just goes out. Now Chicago's got plenty to let that ball come up, and he could kick that ball over to J-Naps. If dreaz takes that, there's a chance that you can, let's see dreaz takes that challenge. All right. He plays it to the side wall, and now Illusion has a play on the ball. Chicago has to win a 50. Why not just let that ball drop to Chicago? And dreaz does that consistently. He will much rather take third man, morph from second to third man than he will morph from second to first man. And I think that benefits him on G2 because you have Chicago and J-Naps on your team that want to play aggressive. So you can afford to morph from second to third more often than you do and take risky 50s. That's a good shot, and that's just a good save. That's a really good shot from dreaz. First killer just making the save. This is from the Fall Classic. This is the semifinals. Good touches from dreaz. And that soft touch I don't know if that exact soft touch is what he was going for. He was going pretty fast here. So let's see. He does go for the control there. He saves his dodge so he can flip back into this. This is a great lesson in how dreaz manages his boosts on defense. Full tank. Use a little bit to keep his speed up the wall, but uses his jump, and boosts a little bit to get under that ball, to keep pushing it to get a solid touch, but not too hard of a touch towards the ball. But he's still got his flip, so he can flip towards the ball and use a little boost instead of using all of his boost, because he would use 30 or 40 boost there to get back to his ball, to get back to that ball. But because he uses his flip, it conserves a lot of boost on this play, and instead of using 30 or 40, well, he comes back down, or he actually would use more on that play. He'd probably be out of boost by the time he got down to this position, but instead he's got 45 and just can't get under the ball enough. I do think this went a little fast for dreaz. He did try to avoid that, or the bump tried to come in, and you see him try to be quick there. And he does side flip. It looks like a miss touch to me. I don't know if dreaz was going for that. I think he was going for the boomer. See touch there. Yeah. I think dreaz was going for a hard touch out, but it was really beneficial. It ended up being a perfect pass. Yeah, no boost. He'll stay very far back. Come up as soon as he's got 100, but he's a little late to the play. So Chicago gets up here, but JNAPS is also up. It's not a bad idea to play a little more passively here. And he doesn't have to win that 50 because JNAPS came back. Again, staying close to second man. He'll commit on that one because he knows JNAPS playing far back behind him. But another full tank. I actually like that from dreaz here. So dreaz is going to force first killer to make a move here. But the goal isn't exactly to win the ball, right? The goal is just to disrupt first killer, and more, that's what the first man role is all about. It's about disruption. So if you force first killer to have to make a play against you to adjust, that will allow every follow-up your teammates have to be a little easier. So first killer does have to adjust, get on the side wall, and he gets the demo, but now JNAPS can clear the ball out. And if dreaz doesn't get up and immediately challenge that ball, first killer might not be put into the position that he's in, so good stuff from dreaz. Enforces the 50, looking for some value on a bump, but he's not going to get any. He'll steal a corner boost. That's away from the play, and he's never really out of it, is he? I mean, he's out of it for just a little bit, but it's after his initial touch out. AJ wins that touch, and Faze, I think they see JNAPS there, and or AJ still behind the ball, rather. And Aleutian just wasn't ready for it, so dreaz will be ready for a perfect touch over from Chicago. Again, low boost. I actually think this is a situation where dreaz makes a mistake by going for the corner. So I say mistake. He's not gonna get he's not gonna get punished. Nobody's gonna get scored on. But you could end the overtime a little early, maybe. There's a lot of small pads available in front of him. He could turn up here. Let's look. Boop. Let's go back down. So no boost. dreaz, a lot of times in this game, has prioritized just going the whole way back for a boost canister. But I actually don't think he really needs to do that. So he flips back initially, flashes ball cam to check his pathing, and then Chicago wins this touch here. So I actually think dreaz can turn up. He actually turns off ball cam and is just committed to going for the corner boost. But let's see, how much could he collect if he turned right up here? Let's see what his pathing could be. He could go like right here. Thanks. Into here maybe? Actually more optimal. That's not really optimal, is it? He could go here, swing in here, pick up the pad here, and now all of a sudden you're in a prime second man spot because JNAPS is rotating out. So dreaz going back for corner boost. You leave Chicago all by himself, and you've given Faze a ton of space. Again, we see that G2 didn't get scored on for this, but it is a situation where dreaz may have been able to pressure by getting like 3 or 4 small boost pads. You know JNAPS is rotating back, so you have him to protect any kind of counterattack that comes your way. but you do give Faze a lot more space and more decisions to play with when you go the whole way back for the corner. So see, the touch gets away from Chicago. Now imagine if dreaz took that new path where he swings around, and I know my initial path was about right here, you say, if he goes like right there. But as he's coming across midfield, he's still going to be adjusting, right? This is kind of dreaz how he moves his car. He's always wiggling, and he'll come down back. He can come down back a little bit, and now all of a sudden you're in position to make a challenge, and life is a lot harder for Faze. So, but now you put yourself in a position where you went for the corner boost, you've given Faze space, and now you have to pole vault for a 50-50, and it's not the most optimal position as to where you could have been. So again, one of those situations where prioritizing the small pads when you had 0 boost may have put you in a stronger position offensively, because you did have the knowledge that Chicago won that 50. You knew J-Naps was rotating back. You could have turned up a second man there and made a more aggressive play that doesn't have a lot of risk attached to it. Again, dreaz giving J-Naps leeway here, and AJ just wins the 50, but Chicago's there as third man, and J-Naps makes a great play. dreaz makes the necessary touch. Tough spot. Makes a good read. Again, good touches from dreaz on defense. I like his control overall. I think we see really solid control from dreaz. I won't say it's pristine. There's definitely some times where you wish it was a little better, but that's a perfect control touch. It gives you a chance to respond. And that's all that dreaz needs. A chance to respond. Boost into the touch. All key parts of that play, right? You jump out, you're boosting into it. Use your dodge to keep that momentum going. Give yourself the best chance at that 50, and your entire car forces that ball forward. Great work from defense, or great work from dreaz on defense. Whew. dreaz out, forces the 50. No boost, but he's already on the back line. And he'll just be there. Is there a better path he could have taken there? Let's see. He grabs the corner. Doesn't want to go for that. He knows First Killer's still got control. dreaz, again, always unwilling to commit if he's not sure. If he's not 100%, he will not commit to that play. If he thinks First Killer still has control, he will not go. And we've seen that. That's a consistency of his play. dreaz is not really an aggressive player. Well, dreaz made the most of that. No panic here on defense. First Killer has to chase that ball down. You've got 40 boost. You don't start using it until you have to respond. Again, good boost management here. Keeps all of it. Uses a little bit there after he grabs a pad, but always stays around 40, and then got enough to get up and make that challenge. Now, he's got no boosts, but he knows he just had to defend First Killer on that play. He knows he's got his teammates on the corners, so you don't have to conserve a lot there. You know you're going to have time when you hit the ground again. That's a good shot. Oh, dreaz! Always! Look how beautiful it is. Oh, no. dreaz hates the left post, man. He's hitting that with some consistency. We talk about his accuracy. It's pretty good if he's hitting the left post. Oh, poor dreaz. Imagine if he's slotting those. We're talking about dreaz being the best performing player on G2 by far if he hits every one of those shots we saw him miss. That was good stuff. What are your guys' thoughts?